The first of our four pillars is accountability. Accountability is often scary because of the negative connotations often associated with the word. People are often held accountable, or folks are told they need to be accountable for their actions. This is because our culture has tied accountability to obligation, which also often has negative undertones. Why did you go to the in-laws' house for dinner, for example? Well, I didn't want to, but I felt obligated because my wife told me I needed to go. What is overlooked is responsibility, which is really the cousin to accountability. In fact, the definition of accountability is an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility or to account for one's actions. There's a lot going on there. The word accountability is so complex that even the dictionary had to throw a couple of ors in for it to make complete sense. Accountability is an obligation, often negative, or to account for one's actions, also often negative, or the willingness to accept responsibility. I would say when someone is willing to accept responsibility, it's not only a good thing, it's a great thing. This is the focus. And since you asked, the definition of responsibility is the state or fact of having a duty to deal with something or of having control over someone. An alternative definition for you spelling bee aficionados out there is the state or fact of being accountable or to blame for something. There's that word again. So if you're being accountable, you are being responsible. If you are being responsible, you are assuming accountability because when you have control over someone, it is your duty to fulfill that obligation. Otherwise, you are to blame. Now that I got your head spinning, let me get to the point. Club soccer is much like the Wild West, minus cowboy hats and a young Will Smith. It's winner take all and the grass is always greener. Each off season, which really doesn't happen anymore, is like a free agency market where parents are constantly trying to decide which club will be the best for their child, while clubs spend their entire year focusing on where they can find better players to bring into their teams to make their teams better this year because the current team isn't good enough. Focus is on the clubs, the brand, and the records. And the coaches must be good because they're getting paid, used to play in college or professionally, have a really cool accent, or went to a course that one time that now states they are licensed, so they must know what they're doing. Don't get me wrong, these things are certainly help, especially the accent, but showing competency is only one piece of the pie. So your kid makes the team. They've got a former All-American, Division I, C-licensed coach at the helm. The team is ranked number 2 in the state in the God Soccer rankings, which is the worst thing to happen to youth sport. Don't get me started on that. And your 12-year-old is finally on pace to get that D1 scholarship they deserve. Problem is, you forgot about the other C's. Competency is great, but what about character? Competition is where you want it to be, but what about chemistry? Credibility is good on paper, but what about basic communication skills? Our focus is on the wrong things. When people ask me what club they should play for, I 100% of the time, without fail, ask one simple question. Can you tell me about the coach? You want to talk about accountability? If you are a club administrator, someone who hires your coaches, can you answer the following questions accurately for each coach? We can even simplify this. We'll say 1 to 10, 10 being high. 1. Rate this coach's level of competency when it comes to teaching the game. 2. Rate this coach's level of character when faced with adversity. 3. Rate this coach's ability to put the players in a competitive training environment expected at this level of play or age group. 4. Rate this coach's ability to build team chemistry and a positive team culture. 5. Rate this coach's level of personal credibility. And last but not least, rate this coach's ability to communicate effectively. You are the one responsible for putting the faces of your club in front of families whose duty is to provide a positive experience for the players. The families have entrusted you with the most important part of their lives. I'll ask again, can you give accurate answers for each of these questions for every single coach in your club? Many of you can. That is awesome. Many cannot. This is a problem. If you want a real view of your coaching staff, send those questions to the parents. Let them give you honest opinions. I bet there'll be a few surprises in there. This cannot be the Wild West. We, myself included, need to better lay out our expectations and responsibilities and need to follow up with accountability, not follow through. When we follow up, we are consistently working within our clubs to improve on a daily basis. When we follow through, it often leads back to where we started. We are forced to hold people accountable for their actions. And this is why the word is often used in negative context. Another way to put it is we need to be proactive, not reactive. I'm not asking you folks not to follow through. What I'm asking is to take a proactive approach to prevent having to follow through with holding people accountable because we are proactively being accountable already. Whew. So the first of our 4 pillars is accountability. Let's change the mindset because accountability is a good thing.